You've worked 40 years, paid into CPP and OAS, and now your retirement income barely covers a few months of Toronto rent before you're living on ramen. Advisors say you need $1 million to retire. Great advice for people who actually have rich parents or high-paying jobs. Most Canadians don't. CPP is about $800, OAS maybe $700. $1,500 buys nothing in big cities. But here's the truth. There are Canadian towns where $1,800's $2,000 a month actually covers a full life, not just survival. Before we dive into towns where your CPP and OAS actually mean something, smash that like button like you're stretching your pension to cover rent, and hit subscribe so you don't miss more financial reality checks. 1. Elliot Lake, Ontario, the retirement town. That means it. Elliot Lake sits in northern Ontario with about 11,000 people and actively markets itself as a retirement community, which sounds like desperate municipal branding until you realize they've actually built infrastructure around that concept instead of just talking about it. Average rent for a one-bedroom apartment runs around $700 to $850 monthly according to local listings. Two-bedroom apartments range from $850 to $1,000. That's not a typo. That's actual rent that leaves you money for food, utilities, and occasionally enjoying life instead of calculating whether you can afford both groceries and heat. The town has St. Joseph's General Hospital with emergency services, diagnostic imaging, and medical programs. They've actively recruited family doctors, meaning you can actually get one, which in Ontario's healthcare crisis is basically miraculous. There are pharmacies, dental clinics, physiotherapy, and medical services retirees need when bodies start making concerning sounds and demanding attention. Cost of living beyond rent is reasonable. Groceries run slightly higher than Southern Ontario due to transportation costs, but we're talking 10 to 15% more, not double. A monthly grocery bill for one person averages $300 to $400 for reasonable eating, not ramen-only survival mode. Utilities for a one-bedroom apartment run around $150 to $200 monthly, including heat, hydro, and water, which matters when you're budgeting on fixed income. The town maintains a massive recreation complex with pool, gym, walking track, and various facilities. There are hundreds of kilometers of trails for hiking and ATVing. Golf courses where membership doesn't require selling organs, winter activities including cross-country skiing and snowshoeing on groomed trails. The town actually invests in seniors' recreation, understanding that retirees need activities beyond watching daytime television and waiting for death. On $1,500 monthly CPP and OAS, your budget looks like this. Rent $750, utilities $175, groceries $350, leaving $225 for phone, internet, transportation, and miscellaneous expenses. It's tight but functional, and if you have any additional pension or savings, you're comfortable instead of just surviving. The community is designed for retirees with programs, social clubs, and volunteer opportunities. Nobody's judging you for being old or on fixed income because that's most of the population. The pace is slower intentionally. Winters are long and snowy, but that's the trade-off for affordability. 2. Minto, Manitoba, Prairie, living on pension budget. Minto sits in southwestern Manitoba with about 900 people and rents so low that urban Canadians assume there's missing information or the buildings are condemned. Average rent for one-bedroom units runs $500 to $650 monthly. Two-bedroom houses rent for $700 to $850, which is what some people pay weekly in Vancouver. The town has a medical clinic with visiting doctors and a pharmacy. For hospital services, Brandon is 45 minutes away with full emergency services and specialists. It's not ideal for medical emergencies, but for routine healthcare and planned appointments, it's manageable, and the cost of living savings allow you to afford the occasional taxi or gas money for medical trips. Groceries in Minto run slightly higher than cities due to limited store competition and transportation costs, but we're talking maybe 20% more, not catastrophically more. A monthly grocery bill for one person averages $350 to $450. Utilities run lower than Ontario at $100 to $150 monthly because Manitoba hydro rates are reasonable and prairie buildings are well insulated from necessity. The town is quiet, genuinely quiet, not urban, quiet where you can still hear traffic. This is prairie silence broken by wind, farm equipment, and your own thoughts, which either appeals to you or sends you into existential crisis. There's a community center, arena, and small town activities that revolve around hockey, community dinners, and events that bring people together without corporate sponsorship. On $1,500 monthly, your budget looks like this. Rent $600, utilities $125, groceries $400, leaving $375 for phone, internet, medication, and extras. You're not wealthy, but you're comfortable, which is what retirement was supposed to be before housing costs destroyed that possibility in cities. The community is agricultural and working class with friendly people who help neighbors because small-town survival requires cooperation. Winter is harsh with temperatures hitting -30 and wind that makes you question humanity's decision to settle prairies. Summer is beautiful with big skies and warmth that feels earned after surviving winter. 3. Smooth Rock Falls, Ontario, Northern Ontario. Affordability: Smooth Rock Falls sits in northeastern Ontario with about 1,200 people, and rent that makes Southern Ontario residents weep with envy or rage depending on their emotional state regarding housing costs. One-bedroom apartments rent for $600 to $750 monthly. Two-bedroom units run $700 to $900. The town has a medical clinic with family doctors and pharmacy. Kapuskasing Hospital is 30 minutes away for emergencies and specialist care. For major medical needs, Timmins is an hour away with larger facilities. The distance requires planning but is manageable, especially when rent savings allow you to afford transportation. Cost of living is low. Groceries run about the same as other Northern Ontario towns, around $350 to $450 monthly for one person buying reasonably. Utilities average $150 to $200 monthly depending on apartment size and heating costs, which are significant when winter temperatures hit -35 and last from October to April. The town has a recreation center, arena, trails, and facilities serving the community. There are lakes nearby for fishing, forests for walking, and wilderness access for people who define quality of life through nature instead of restaurants and entertainment venues. Social life revolves around community events, church groups for those inclined, and activities that bring people together in ways cities talk about but rarely achieve. Before we continue with more towns where your pension actually covers living expenses instead of just rent, hit that subscribe button like you're claiming financial dignity and drop a comment below what you think. On $1,500 monthly, your budget is rent $700, utilities $175, groceries $400, leaving $225 for phone, internet, medications, and occasional extras. If you have any additional income from workplace pension or savings, you're living comfortably instead of calculating whether you can afford both heat and food. The community is bilingual French and English, working class, and unpretentious. People are friendly and helpful because northern isolation creates cooperation by necessity. Winter is serious and long, testing your relationship with cold and darkness. Summer is beautiful with long days and warmth that makes winter almost forgivable. 4. Virden, Manitoba, oil town with pension-friendly rent. Virden sits in southwestern Manitoba near the Saskatchewan border with about 3,500 people and an economy historically tied to oil industry, which means employment fluctuates with oil prices but infrastructure remains solid. Rent for one-bedroom apartments averages $650 to $800 monthly. Two-bedroom units run $800 to $1,000. The town has proper healthcare facilities including Virden Health Center with emergency services, diagnostic capabilities, and visiting specialists. There are family doctors, though availability varies, dental offices, and pharmacies. For major medical needs, Brandon is an hour away, which is manageable for planned appointments and serious healthcare situations. Virden has full services, multiple grocery stores providing competition that keeps prices reasonable, retail shops, restaurants, and amenities needed for comfortable living. The town maintains recreation facilities including a pool, arena, curling rink, and walking trails. There are community programs, seniors activities, and social opportunities that combat the isolation some retirees fear about small-town living. Groceries in Virden run about $300 to $400 monthly for one person, slightly lower than more remote towns due to better store competition and proximity to larger supply chains. Utilities average $125 to $175 monthly, reasonable for Prairie Manitoba where hydro rates don't destroy budgets. On $1,500 monthly CPP and OAS, your budget is rent $750, utilities $150, groceries $350, leaving $250 for phone, internet, medication, and miscellaneous expenses. With any additional pension income, you're comfortable with money for hobbies, travel, or spoiling grandchildren who visit occasionally. The community is working class and friendly with a mix of oil workers, agricultural people, and retirees. Social life includes community events, sports leagues, and activities that don't require spending money to participate. Winter is prairie winter with cold and wind that builds character or drives you away. Summer is warm and pleasant with long daylight hours. 5. Shaunavon, Saskatchewan, Southwest Saskatchewan. Savings Shaunavon sits in southwest Saskatchewan with about 1,700 people and a cost of living so low that urban Canadians assume the town is somehow broken or cursed. Rent for one-bedroom apartments runs $550 to $700 monthly. Two-bedroom units range from $700 to $850, which is less than weekly rent in Toronto's most desperate neighborhoods. The town has Shaunavon Hospital and Care Centre providing emergency services and basic health care. There are family doctors, though availability requires some luck and timing, a pharmacy, and dental services. For specialist care, Swift Current is an hour away with larger medical facilities, manageable for planned appointments. Shaunavon has essential services, grocery stores, gas stations, restaurants, and retail operations covering daily needs. The town maintains a recreation center, pool, arena, and curling rink because prairie towns believe in recreation infrastructure regardless of population size. There are walking trails, parks, and facilities that serve the community well. Groceries run about $300 to $400 monthly for one person. Reasonable for rural Saskatchewan, where agricultural proximity keeps some food costs lower. Utilities average $100 to $150 monthly, among the lowest in Canada thanks to Saskatchewan's provincial utility rates that haven't been completely privatized into profit-maximizing nightmares. On $1,500 monthly, your budget is rent $650, utilities $125, groceries $350, leaving $375 for phone, internet, medications, and extras. You're actually comfortable with buffer room for unexpected expenses or occasionally enjoying life beyond basic survival. The community is agricultural, unpretentious, and friendly. People help each other because prairie isolation demands cooperation. Social life revolves around community events, church if you're inclined, and activities that build connection. Winter is cold and windy with temperatures that make you respect insulation. Summer is warm with big skies and that prairie sense of space that either calms you or makes you anxious from too much horizon. 6. Port Hawkesbury, Nova Scotia. East Coast, living on budget. Port Hawkesbury sits on Cape Breton Island with about 3,500 people and Atlantic Canadian charm without Halifax prices that require tech salaries or family money. Rent for one-bedroom apartments averages $700 to $900 monthly. Two-bedroom units run $900 to $1,100, which is higher than prairie towns but includes ocean access and maritime culture. The town has Straight Richmond Hospital providing emergency services and healthcare programs. There are family doctors, though getting one requires patience and luck like everywhere in Canada. Pharmacies, dental offices, and medical services needed for aging bodies. For specialist care, Sydney is an hour away, or Halifax 2.5 hours when major medical intervention is needed. Port Hawkesbury serves as regional hub with full services, grocery stores, retail shops, restaurants, and amenities covering daily needs without constant trips to larger cities. The location on the Strait of Canso provides water access and scenic beauty. There are trails, parks, and recreational opportunities that don't require expensive memberships. Groceries in Port Hawkesbury run about $350 to $450 monthly, typical for maritime Canada where some items cost more due to transportation, but local seafood and produce can be affordable. Utilities average $150 to $200 monthly, reasonable for Atlantic Canada where heating costs matter during damp winters that feel colder than the thermometer suggests. On $1,500 monthly, your budget is rent $800, utilities $175, groceries $400, leaving $125 for phone, internet, and extras. It's tighter than prairie towns, but you're living on the ocean in a region with culture, music, and Atlantic Canadian friendliness that's not a stereotype but actual community character. The community is maritime working class with fishing, forestry, and service industries. People are genuinely friendly and welcoming, not fake friendly but actually helpful and conversational. Winter is damp and gray with temperatures that rarely hit extreme cold but feel miserable through humidity and wind. Summer is beautiful with moderate temperatures and ocean breezes. 7. Dauphin, Manitoba. Parkland, Manitoba. Affordability: Dauphin sits in western Manitoba with about 8,500 people, large enough for proper services but small enough for affordable living. Rent for one-bedroom apartments averages $700 to $850 monthly. Two-bedroom units run $850 to $1,000, reasonable for a town with full amenities and services. Dauphin Regional Health Center provides emergency services, diagnostic capabilities, and various medical programs. There are family doctors accepting patients sporadically, specialists who visit regularly, and solid healthcare infrastructure for a town this size. The medical situation is better than many small towns while costs remain low. The town has full services, multiple grocery stores, retail shops, restaurants, and amenities needed for comfortable living. Dauphin maintains recreation facilities including a pool, arena, multiple curling rinks because Manitoba takes curling seriously, and trails throughout the community. There are programs for seniors, social clubs, and volunteer opportunities. Groceries run about $300 to $400 monthly, with good store competition keeping prices reasonable. Utilities average $125 to $175 monthly, manageable on fixed income. The town hosts festivals and events throughout the year, creating social life without expensive entertainment requirements. On $1,500 monthly, your budget is rent $800, utilities $150, groceries $350, leaving $200 for phone, internet, medication, and extras. With any additional pension, you're comfortable with money for hobbies and occasional travel to visit family. The community is diverse for a small Manitoba town, with agricultural workers, healthcare employees, and retirees. People are friendly and community-minded. Winter is prairie winter with cold and snow that demands proper clothing and mindset. Summer is warm and pleasant with festivals celebrating various cultural backgrounds. 8. Cobalt, Ontario, Northern Ontario. History and affordability. Cobalt sits in northeastern Ontario with about 1,100 people and a mining history that makes it interesting beyond just affordable rent. One-bedroom apartments rent for $550 to $700 monthly. Two-bedroom units run $700 to $850, among the lowest rent in Ontario for towns with actual services. The town has a medical clinic with family doctors and pharmacy. Temiskaming Hospital in New Liskeard is 15 minutes away for emergency services and specialist care. For major medical needs, North Bay is 2 hours south, manageable for planned appointments but requiring consideration for emergencies. Cobalt has essential services, a grocery store, gas station, pharmacy, and small retail operations covering basic needs. The town features historical mining sites, museums, and heritage buildings creating character beyond just cheap housing. There are trails, parks, and access to Lake Temiskaming for fishing and recreation. Groceries run about $350 to $450 monthly, typical for Northern Ontario where transportation adds costs, but not catastrophically. Utilities average $150 to $200 monthly including heat, which matters when winter temperatures hit -30 and old buildings weren't designed for energy efficiency. On $1,500 monthly, your budget is rent $650, utilities $175, groceries $400, leaving $275 for phone, internet, medications, and extras. You're comfortable with buffer room for unexpected expenses or occasionally enjoying life beyond necessities. The community is small and aging with many retirees attracted to affordability and Northern Ontario's slower pace. People are friendly and helpful. Winter is serious and long, with cold that demands respect and preparation. Summer is beautiful with lake access and outdoor opportunities. 9. Souris, Manitoba, Southwest Manitoba. Quiet Souris sits in southwestern Manitoba with about 1,800 people and a suspension bridge that's the town's primary claim to fame beyond affordable living. Rent for one-bedroom apartments averages $550 to $750 monthly. Two-bedroom houses rent for $700 to $900, which is what some urban Canadians pay for parking spots. The town has a medical clinic with family doctors and pharmacy. Brandon is 45 minutes away for hospital services, specialists, and major medical needs. The distance requires planning but is manageable, especially when rent savings allow you to afford transportation to medical appointments. Souris has basic services, grocery store, gas station, pharmacy, and small retail operations. The town maintains a recreation center, curling rink, and community facilities. There are trails, parks, and the Souris River providing scenic beauty and recreation. The famous suspension bridge attracts some tourism, creating minor economic activity. Groceries run about $300 to $400 monthly, reasonable for rural Manitoba. Utilities average $100 to $150 monthly, among the lowest costs anywhere. The town hosts community events and activities that bring people together without requiring spending money. On $1,500 monthly, your budget is rent $650, utilities $125, groceries $350, leaving $375 for phone, internet, medication, and extras. You're actually comfortable with money left over, which is what retirement was supposed to be. The community is agricultural and quiet, with friendly people who embody prairie hospitality. Social life is small town, community dinners, church events if you're inclined, and activities that build connection. Winter is cold and windy. Summer is warm and pleasant, with the kind of peace that urban living never provides. 10. Cape Breton County, Nova Scotia. Multiple small towns. One affordable region. Rather than one specific town, Cape Breton County offers multiple small communities with affordable rent and Atlantic Canadian character. Towns like Glace Bay, Sydney Mines, and New Waterford have rent averaging $700 to $950 for one-bedroom apartments, $850 to $1,200 for two-bedroom units. The region has Cape Breton Regional Hospital in Sydney, providing full emergency services, specialists, and comprehensive health care. Multiple medical clinics throughout the county serve smaller communities. Healthcare access is reasonable for a rural region, better than many remote areas across Canada. These towns feature Atlantic Canadian culture with music, friendliness, and community character. That's not tourism marketing, but actual lived experience. The ocean provides scenic beauty, recreation, and that maritime connection to water that defines the region. There are trails, parks, and natural beauty throughout Cape Breton. Groceries run about $350 to $450 monthly, typical for Atlantic Canada. Utilities average $150 to $200 monthly, manageable though heating costs matter during damp winters. The region hosts festivals, music events, and cultural activities throughout the year. On $1,500 monthly, your budget in most Cape Breton communities is rent $850, utilities $175, groceries $400, leaving $75 for phone and internet, requiring tight management or supplemental income. With any additional pension, you're comfortable instead of just surviving. The communities are working class with fishing, tourism, and service industries. People are genuinely friendly and welcoming with maritime hospitality that makes newcomers feel accepted. Winter is damp and gray but rarely extremely cold. Summer is beautiful with moderate temperatures and ocean breezes that make life pleasant. Having said that, subscribe because more retirees need to know that affordable living in Canada still exists if you're willing to look beyond cities that price out anyone not wealthy or lucky.